I'm sitting here at the compound of Bishop Enock Tombe, and this is his compound here, and here is Enoch. And I'm interviewing him now because I was at his church on Sunday at Pro Cathedral, and heard the results of the recent vision conference that he went to. So I'm going to get him now to just tell you a little bit of the story of what has happened in the church as the result of the work of CMS-Africa. Enoch.
Yes, I'm happy to tell this story because I'm one of those who benefited from the vision conference. The first one I attended was in Machakos, together with Bishop Moses of Wow Diocese and Bishop Wilson Kamani of Iba Diocese. We were invited by CMS-Africa to attend the Machakos Vision Conference organized by Bishop Joseph Kanuku. And the idea was to launch the biogas project. And we were impressed by the project, but also by the vision conference which we attended later on together with two of my colleagues. So right there we discussed this idea with Korobia and his colleagues in Nairobi, and they promised to support us. So Bishop Moses was the first to hold his conference in July that year, 2010, followed by Bishop Kamani of Iba. He held it in September, and all of us agreed to invite each other to those conferences. So overall I had attended 3, and then it was now my turn to organize for the Rajaf. And it was only last year in December I managed to hold the one for Rajaf at Goli, 20 miles away from Yei, because the venue there is convenient. And we have about 34 people from Rajaf Diocese, plus others from the neighboring dioceses, and 2 from other churches. Now, during the conference, we actually learned a lot of things, including we were encouraged to make what they call seed projects. Each group had to work out its own seed project. So the Pro Cathedral, where we worship on Sundays, had planned to have a seed project on taking care of widows and orphans, as in Isaiah 58, where God says the true fasting is the one where you take care of the widows and orphans and those who are in need. So last Sunday we were worshiping together with Reverend Pauline from CMS, and this group was saying they have already introduced the seed project to the congregation, and now they were going to raise money for 60 children, orphan children they have registered, because they want to pay their school fees and also take care of some of their needs. The fundraising began in our presence last Sunday, and I was impressed with that project. There are other projects which have been planned. I have got a project which is going to be done in Luri, for a pit latrine project for the village of Luri. Those people have no pit latrines, and one of our members went there and asked them why they don't dig pit latrines. And the people say, well, they don't want to mix their waste with the in-laws. And he asked them, okay, where do you now put your waste? Say they just drop them in the bush. Then he asked them, when the rain comes, what happens? The waste will be carried to the river, and after that they bring the water back and they drink. So they have to choose whether to drink the waste of the in-laws from the water, or they rather combine it, mix it in the pit. And I think they saw the point. They said they better mix it in the pit rather than drink. And so that is one area we have targeted. We are going to work with this group. The young people in the cathedral actually also purchased, after the conference, they purchased their own organ. And the music now in the cathedral has improved. They're using the organ to improve the singing.
That's the keyboard organ.
Yeah, the keyboard, yes.
Yeah.
The cathedral also has trying to connect electricity, because then the keyboard can only work well if there is a constant electricity. So overall, I've seen that the mindset of the people in the Dasara Jab, at least those who attended, have changed. They are now trying to take initiatives rather than waiting for resources from our side. They are now looking at their own resources than before. And I believe that the vision conference and make an impact already on Industrial Rajab. I know that also the chairman of the Development Committee Rajab was with us, and in the synod he made sure that the cathedral project is given priority. They have asked now for the diocese to produce the bill of quantities and the drawings. And we are working on these drawings together with Gary Iron, also a CMS engineer based in Kampala. And we hope that through the development committee, the cathedral project can be started. And this is all the result of the vision conference which I attended in Machakos, and also in Wau and Iba, and now also in Goli for Rajab diocese. And we are very grateful to God for CMS-Africa, and we will certainly wish them to continue so that not only the dioceses but also maybe all the churches in Sudan get the same chance, and they can go back and bring the same knowledge of the Bible to their congregation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop Enock, very much. And we were talking a little bit earlier about how you would like to see this. It was really the church leaders who went to this vision conference, I think. And you were talking about getting this to the grassroots people. How do you think that will have an impact if it can get down to the grassroots people in your diocese?
Yeah, initially I wanted the conference to be done at grassroots level using Bari language, because our people don't know English, or if they knew, it's very little. So, because when you communicate in the local language, there is no communication barrier. They're already reading the Bible in Bari, and they're familiar with it. But if you have to do translation, there is that translation barrier. The English words are not known to them. So we wanted to have, because it happened in Iba, it was done in Zande. The lecturer was talking in English but translated to Zande straight away. And so that grassroots approach I thought would be better off than translation, because they would use their Bibles and mark them, the verses. Even they can mark in the Bible, or they can take notes in their own language, and that will be having much better impact than somebody who learned it first in English and then has. For example, we who were there in Goli, we got it in English, the material in English, but then we have to come back and try in our own. And of course, we are not trained facilitators. But if the facilitator had spoken in English and then translated it into Bari, the person gets it directly from the facilitator rather than from another trainee. And that will be more or less impact.
Thank you. And another thing we were talking about is perhaps a future. In fact, I think it was today you came from the Sudan Council of Churches, and you were talking about one for the leaders of the nation. And you quoted a phrase on discipling the nations. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually Stephen Langer of Samaritan Strategy based in Kampala initially wanted a conference which will bring the top church leaders together, given that we have a new nation which could be influenced by the church straight away. And so when we could not achieve this during the Rajab Vision Conference, because not many of the church leaders turned up, we had only 2, because Sudan Council of Churches was having its own internal crisis. Now the time seems to be right, and so I've been asked to convey this to the church leaders. And so today we had a meeting with the chairman of Sudan Council of Churches, Bishop Michael Taban, and the acting general secretary, Reverend Mark Akech, plus representative of the Catholic Church and Pentecostal Church and Africa Island Church. They were there, plus Presbyterian Church. So I raised this suggestion, and they say in principle they have no objection, provided that Civil Langer should send them a letter straight to the General Secretary of Sudan Catholic Churches, the acting General Secretary, Reverend Mark Akech, so that they would then consult the churches one by one on the timing. So they accepted in principle, but the timing had to be agreed, and some of them were thinking that July would be appropriate. because at that time they will not be very busy with visiting churches and so on. Remember that the dry season is the time when churches go out for confirmation and visits and so on. So July seems to be suggested, but of course this is still subject to agreement by all the churches. And so I'm going to send an email to Stephen Langa on this and hope that they can agree on the dates, and then we can organize it at the top church level. If that happens, I think that will be the best. And it will bring on board people who already attended the vision conferences, like the Bishop of Iba, Bishop of Wau, Bishop of Rumbek, Bishop of Kajukeji, myself from Rajab, and others who have attended similar, so that we can share experiences together. And in fact, the Catholic representative was very happy with the idea, because when he heard that the vision conference to promote self-help, like the Good Samaritan, he used his own resources to address the problem, that will be good. The idea of the discipling the nation came from the vision conference in Goli. We were told point blank that if you don't disciple the nation will disciple the church. In other words, we will be running the church using secular or whatever methods, human methods. But if you have the Bible, we will influence the nation towards using biblical methods, and we will be better off than if we use our own human methods, which may not succeed. So that's why the discipling nation is our duty, and we have to do it rather than to be discipled by the nation. In other words, we don't want the politician to tell us what to do. It's rather we are the one to guide them and to tell them what God expects us to do. That will bring us blessing from God and also actually ensure success, rather than working on human methods which might fail.
And do you think there would be a chance of getting some of the politicians to come to a vision conference?
Well, that depends on how each church plans. Because if we invite them as members of the political party, will not. But if we invite them as members of our churches, yes,
then
why not? The laity, we will invite them as our members. And then, of course, when they learn something good from the church, I'm sure they can then bring it to their political party or even to their government.
Yes.
So we want to influence them through the church.
And many of them are church members.
Yeah, they are. They're a good number.
Yes.
I remember there was a conference about interreligious dialogue in the ECS, and we happened to get 2 ministers from Rumbek, state ministers, who are members of the diocese of Rumbek of the ECS. So if they learn something good, I'm sure they can take it to their offices.
Yes.
So we would not target them as political parties, leaders, but as members of our churches.
Yes.
As members of the laity.
Yes. Bishop, thank you very much for giving us that picture. And I think what I hear you saying is there is a big role for the vision conferences to play in South Sudan and the whole of, and also including Sudan.
Particularly at this time when our nation is still being formed. As I speak now, the meeting today which I attended was about who is going to represent us in the constitutional review process. That's why the meeting was called, and we agreed to send one of us, but we have also a team which will work together with him. So if there is an issue there, he can bring it back to us, and then we can discuss as the constitution is being reviewed. So now, when the constitution is being reviewed, we want to make sure that the constitution is something which is going to be acceptable and addressing all our issues according to how we see it as Christians. So the time is right, and last year the Catholic Church had a symposium, and the Minister of Culture and Information, Dr. Barnaba Mariel Benjamin, said, churches, this is your time. This is the time to influence policy, government policy. We are still forming our state, and you can advise us. Instead of complaining, we are still making it, so let us do it together. So I think the time is right for this vision conference to be held.
Thank you. So it is a crucial time for the forming of a new nation, for these things to come in. So thank you, Bishop Enock Tombe of Rajaf Diocese in South Sudan. And this is Pauline Walker of the CMS-Africa representative interviewing you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.